The Royal Military College class of 1970 proudly gifted an endowment fund to the college during our Old Brigade entry year in 2015. We were a group of cadets who helped put RMC, CMR Saint Jean, and Royal Roads on the Canadian University athletics map in the mid to late 1960s. So it was fitting that the Athletics Wall of Distinction, or AWOD as it's called, resulted from our gift. I am Jim Simpson, RMC class of 1970, and chair of the AWOD Selection Committee. With other recognition programs in place to honor lifetime achievements in academia, the military, and civilian careers, my class saw an opportunity to lift the profile of athletic achievement by cadets, ex-cadets, and staff at the Canadian military colleges, while at the same time providing inspiration to all current and future athletes at RMC. Naval and officer cadets ought to see what hard work and training can deliver. To know that young men and women before them have secured medals and recognition for the colleges, and then gone on to win provincial and national championships and even represent Canada in the Olympics. The AWOD program ensures that this history is known to all and that will inspire many in the years to come.
Thank you, Jim, and hello all. I'm Corporal Maya Russell, captain and libero on the women's volleyball team and a fourth year student in Honors Business Administration. Welcome everyone to the 4th RMC Athletics Wall of Distinction induction ceremony. Brigadier General Bouchard, RMC staff members, this year's inductees and their family and friends, along with my fellow student athletes, our coaches, and Paladins fans of all generations. I'm thrilled you could join us virtually to celebrate some truly impressive individuals. But first, a special shout out to those who have made this event possible. Jim Simpson and the class of 1970 for founding the entire thing, as well as the AWOD Selection Committee, now comprised of ex-cadets representing every decade from 1950 to 2010, and select members of the athletics department. And like so many things at RMC, the AWOD would not be possible without the work of the foundation. Thank you to Nancy Marr and her team for ably managing the class of 1970 endowment fund. To kick things off tonight, I'll pass things over to the Commandant, who has a message to talk about the resiliency of our athletic program, in addition to introducing the incredible people we are all here to celebrate. Presiding over his final AWOD ceremony before his retirement from the CAF, Brigadier General Sébastien Bouchard.
Good day, everyone. Bonjour à tous, and welcome to the annual Athletic Wall of Distinction ceremony. Bienvenue à ce première cérémonie virtuelle du mur de distinction du RMC. My name is Brigadier General Sébastien Bouchard, and I'm the commander of the college, for those of you that don't remember me. Thank you for watching this video through social media. We certainly appreciate, even if I'm alone in my office right now, I appreciate the fact that you're going to be able to watch this. So, why? Why are we doing this ceremony? Because the season has been canceled. There's no practice. You're not on the peninsula. There's no competition. Gyms are closed. So why it's so important to do this Wall of Distinction today? So yes, we may be on pause, but it doesn't mean that the athletic program is dead. You see, I look at this, and to me, this is just like a road trip. And right now, the car is at a stop sign or at a light. Our foot is on the clutch and the brake pedal, but the engine is still running at optimal temperature. And I know, and we all know, that the minute that the light will turn green, we will be ready to accelerate and resume our trip. In that example, the car is the program. The car is your team. But you are the engine. Coaches are the engine. All the PSP staff are the engine. And they're still running idle and ready to go the minute that we have the green light. This is why events like this today are important. Nous sommes seulement en pause, prêts à recommencer. La minute qu'on a la lumière verte, je le sais que vous allez être prêts avec les entraîneurs à continuer avec le programme athlétique et les compétitions. Today, I'd like to present the two inductees we have for the Wall of Distinction, les deux personnes qui seront intronisées aujourd'hui, and also I will introduce the keynote speaker we have for you today. So the first inductee today is a former athletic director from 1988 to 1991. Was involved in multiple CISM World Championships. He's a tireless advocate of RMC and its athletic program. He's an OUA award winner for his contribution to the men's hockey team, a men's hockey program. He's a longtime editor of E-Veritas. Ladies and gentlemen, my good friend, Bill Oliver. La deuxième personne qui sera intronisée au mur aujourd'hui, c'est une personne qui est de la classe de 2007. Lorsqu'elle était au collège, elle était membre de l'équipe d'escrime du collège. Elle a aidé le collège à gagner 3 championnats OUA consécutifs. Elle a gagné multiples médailles d'or au niveau provincial. Elle a été nommée athlète féminine de l'année pour les Forces armées canadiennes en 2005, alors qu'elle était au collège. Elle a compétitionné à plusieurs championnats CISM. Elle s'est entraînée et compétitionnée avec l'équipe nationale, l'équipe Canada, durant son passage au collège. J'ai nommé Marilyne Lafortune. Keynote speaker today is someone that I know as well. His name is Mr. Steve Molaski. He's RMC class of 1988. So Steve was inducted into the Athletic Wall of Distinction for hockey in 2019. He was not able to attend the ceremony. Is the RMC's all-time leading scorer, finished his university career, and is still in the top 10 all-time OUA scoring board. He was the league all-star during his 4 years at RMC. He graduated in 1988, and I joined in 1988. So I was not at RMC at the same time as him. However, Steve got back to the college a few years after, and I was still at the college. And he was actually my squad com. He was my squad commander. J'étais dans l'escadron 6 à ce temps-ci, à ce temps-là. Et Steve était mon commandant d'escadron. And I'd like to share with you one anecdote. One thing to demonstrate his dedication to physical fitness. So it was a 4th year, and I remember, I think this gentleman was a 1st year or a 2nd year, and he was struggling with his PPT, struggling not with the run or push-ups. He was actually having difficulties with the agility run and the long jump. And Steve, as a good squadron commander, decided to help him. So for a certain period of time, this cadet had a meeting with the squad com before classes, so early in the morning or after classes, and both of them, Steve and this officer cadet, would practice the long jump and the agility run in the hallway of Fort Champlain. And I hope Steve still remembered this time. But I do. It was a great time, certainly. And it's great to have Steve back and to be the keynote speaker for this Wall of Distinction. So Steve, thank you very much for being with us. I appreciate it. It's been hard and difficult to keep the morale and our focus this year. Most of you were disappointed when you heard that the season would be canceled for the entire year, that there would be no practice, that we would not be allowed to come back to RMC, that the gym was actually closed. No one was more disappointed than me, frankly. However, there's something that kept me going. Something when I couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. I was trying to remind myself. And this is what I was telling myself about the athletic program, about you guys. I was telling myself that the Paladins will be back and they will be ready. The Paladins will be back. It's a question of time. And we'll be stronger and more resilient than ever. And our competitor will be disappointed. Oh yes, they will. Because you know what? Like we've been doing for the past 145 years. Yeah, we may not be the most talented team out there. However, we never give up. So all our competitors out there, wait for it. We'll be ready. The engine is running idle, and we're just waiting to release the clutch pedal and press on the accelerator. Mesdames et messieurs, merci d'être avec nous pour cette cérémonie aujourd'hui. J'ai hâte de vous revoir. Looking forward to go and cheer for the Paladins as a civilian, wearing proudly my Paladins shirt. Looking forward to see all of you. For the fourth year that unfortunately will have to leave us this year, I'd just like to thank you for what you've done for the Paladins. I know that this year was not like, nobody was expecting a year like this. Puis je sais que vous ne pensiez pas que votre dernière année au sein des Paladins allait être annulée. Vous avez fait à la maison. It's sad, but forever you'll be a Paladins, and forever you'll be able to come back and tell people that you were part of this great adventure. So I encourage you to come back after graduation and cheer for the team. And thank you once again for your contribution all the previous year and this year, obviously, as leading folks being spread across this country. Merci beaucoup. True duty, valor, vérité, devoir, vaillance. Paladins will be ready.
Thank you, sir. An excellent analogy. And I know I speak for all my fellow student athletes when I say we can't wait to start competing again. Now, without further delay, it's time to celebrate our first inductee, Bill Oliver. And here to introduce one of his predecessors is current Director of Athletics, Darren Cates.
Hi, my name is Darren Cates, and I've been the Director of Athletics at RMC since 2004. When I arrived at the college, I knew the name Bill Oliver, as he was quite well known around the OUA and at the time CIS. However, I didn't know him as a person. Bill quickly reached out to me and welcomed me with open arms. We would meet regularly over tea at the senior staff mess and discuss everything going on in athletics. We didn't always agree. In fact, we often argued quite vehemently. However, we would always discuss, and he would give me valuable background and insight and a different perspective from someone that had been in my position before me. I came to value this in his opinions and his advice. Bill became one of my closest confidants, and I consider him one of my most important mentors. Bill's had a profound effect on athletics at RMC and in the greater Canadian Armed Forces in general, and we all benefit to this day from his efforts. Congratulations, Bill, on being inducted into the Athletics Wall of Distinction. It is very well deserved, and I couldn't be happier for you. Go RMC.
Greetings, salut. First, I want to thank the class of 1970 for sponsoring the Athletic Wall of Distinction. In particular, Jim Simpson, the catalyst in getting this going. I also want to congratulate Steve Molaski and Marilyne Lafortune, both of whom I knew as cadets and well aware of their outstanding contributions to the college as athletes. I'm very appreciative that the Director of Athletics, Darren Cates, submitted my nomination, and a big thank you to the members of the Board of Directors for their support, and especially the stamp of approval by the Commandant, General Sebastien Bouchard. It's hard for me to express how I feel and how honored and humbled I am to be chosen for this award. Joining the likes of Danny McLeod, Doug Hardgraves, Earl Morris, and other distinguished individuals as builders is truly an honor and a humbling experience at the same time. I also recognize fully that so many people that I have been associated with and others at RMC deserve this award more than I do, and that will keep me grounded for sure. I will be brief. I would like to acknowledge a couple of people who were instrumental in many of my RMC projects. First, Roland, my wife of over 61 years, who helped me every step of the way in everything I've done in support of RMC athletics. And Andy Scott, starting in 1996, coached the Hockey Redmond Paladins for 5 seasons and was the main reason I came out of a 1-year retirement and stayed involved for another 23 years. I'd like to share some of my memories. When you're retired, you have lots of time to think back, so bear with me, please. 1968-69, traveling 2 years in a row from Ottawa to play the Hockey Redmond. meeting the legendary Jim Gebhardt, thinking this may be a place I want to serve someday. 1978, 3 late third period goals by a Tom McKay coached Redmond team which clinched a 7-6 win against West Point. The 1980s, Paul Dorian with the men's volleyball team, Mark Como with the women's tennis team led by Sandra Hawes, and Greg Peet with the high box team. 1982, the hockey team enters back into the OUAA under the leadership of Wayne Kirk. Phil Cowie tearing up and down the rugby field. The Carr Harris games and being on many of these organizing committees. The Kelly Gone Cup was instituted. Sharon Donnelly was the first winner. Lucy Rourke and achieving 500 on the CFC fitness test. A few cadets for one reason or another stick out in my mind during their 4th year. Shirley Grenier, sports officer, Pat Dre, CWTO, Chris Hatfield, sports officer, Jackie Garvin, CWC, Randy Hartman, Pat Delgadis, Adrian and Shannon Travis, all super volunteers, and a real special friend, Jordan Hennessy, who left us way too soon. And finally, Tim Lannon and his father. Hiring a full-time hockey coach, Jock Tremblay, which only happened because of the leadership of Ed Murray and Fred Sutherland. The outstanding work done by Wilf Johnson in his role as hockey GM and chief scout while holding down a full-time position within the college. Jason Boyd earning CIAU Player of the Week. Ryan Slate, an OUA rowing champion, both a rare RMC feat. Josh Major scoring the winning goal in a shootout as the 8th shooter in the Carr Harris game. Living, hosting firsthand the West Point experience at home and away multiple times. The OUA hockey convener experience over 9 years. Hosting CISM Taekwondo Championships at the world level involving 13 countries back in 1993. Taking on the role of Sports Attractions Director in 1996, thanks to Doug Youngson, Art Wade, and Joanne Thibault. The red and white soccer matches that used to be played on ex-cadet weekends, and the Bruce Porter organized Cup, organized by Roger McGregor, Joe Day, and others. Organizing special fundraising dinners, especially the 2000 Danny McLeod and 2003 Legacy Dinner honoring our hockey past, and there were others. The Paul Hungler, Craig Norman, Kevin Delude RMC basketball era, Kerry Kettle and John Haggis, and the reservists playing varsity sports, Brad Scher and Jan D, the scoring machine for women's basketball, the Shannon Gowdy overtime goal against West Point, Tom Connerty sparking the interest of 4 NHL teams, Toronto, the Rangers, the Blues, and the Ottawa Senators. Editor of E-Veritas, well over 600 individual editions, the financial support from readers. Also, the editor and contributor of a number of different times for the Veritas magazine. Claire Brama's father displaying loud and clear on how proud he was at her convocation. Chuck Beavis and Steve Lawless from the hockey teams. The cadets and other volunteer help we received in producing E-Veritas. The effort of Bob Perron in working hard to get rugby quickly reinstated after it had been removed as a varsity sport in the early 2000s. Mark Granlund's very last shift in his last OUA game at U of T. A Night to Remember. Chuck Oliverios, Patricia and David Howes on what they have accomplished with fencing. The ultimate price paid by Nicholas Goddard, Matt Daw, and Michelle Knight Mendez. Gino Bruni and is earning a Rhodes Scholarship. All the great ex-cadets I met over the years, way too many to name. Pierre Descharmes and Michelle Maisonneuve when they visited from RMC in Saint Jean. The cadets and parents we worked with during their application process to the college. Barry Winfield, Peter Daw, Ann Levely, Rod McDonald, Brian Bailey, Jerry Stowe, and Bernie Laliberti, and what they all accomplished over the years in support of the foundation, the club, and the college during my time at Panay House. Casual, informal chats with former commandants, especially Charles Iman, David Morris, Tom Lawson, Bill Trulove, Eric Tremblay, Al Meinzinger, and Sebastien Bouchard. La Casse Galerie, the fundraiser named after Danny McLeod. A Jeff Bennett project, a 15-person canoe trip from Ottawa to Kingston, at least 4 different times at the beginning of ex-cadet weekends. Highly supported by John DeChasselin, Ray Hook, Roxanne Reese, and many others. I will never forget Tony O'Keefe and the inspiration he provided to so many cadets while serving in at least 3 different military positions, including D Cadet at RMC. Al Roberts, Jim Carruthers, Bob Booth, Harry Cole, Ron Rutledge, and Brad Mills, all for stepping up at crucial times over the years, all seamless roles, but vital to the mission. Comey for being Comey. John Amphlett for being a long-time trusted mentor. And finally, serving at the college in 3 different positions within the Department of Athletics, working with so many Pero and Peri professionals, both civilian and military staffs within the college, plus 23 years as a civilian at Panay House, and the opportunity to work with multiple members of the club and the foundation board of directors. Wrapping up, former team captain of the 1973 Hockey Redmen, Chris Omet submitted a short article to the RMC Hockey Digest, which captures what I believe is the essence of what are the feelings and memories of the vast memories of former RMC varsity athletes, not just hockey players. And I quote Chris, "The RMC hockey program changed my life and made a permanent impression on what I was about to become. It taught me the importance of cooperation, teamwork, mental and physical toughness, sacrifice, hard work, fitness, fun, and friends. More importantly, it taught me to always give your best without quitting. These teachings shaped my personal life and my career." 9699 Chris Omet, class of 73. Adieu, thank you, merci.
Congratulations, Bill. I think we can all agree those were some incredible stories. Thank you for sharing them with us. We're now going to jump straight to our next inductee, Marilyne Lafortune. And we're lucky to have someone who knows her fencing ability firsthand to introduce her. Longtime head coach of RMC fencing, Patricia Howes.
Hi, bonjour tout le monde. My name is Patricia Howes and I'm the Maître d'Armes fencing master at the Royal Military College of Canada. I've been coaching here since 2002 and I first met Marilyne Lafortune as a second-year cadet at the college. The first time I had an individual lesson with her was in the field house, and even though she didn't know how to take a lesson, I knew immediately that her determination and her motivation and her desire to problem solve was going to translate into an outstanding athlete for the OUA and for the Royal Military College of Canada. Years later, I'm still working with her through the CISM program, in which she's been both an athlete and the manager. It's such an honor, so privileged to congratulate you, Marilyne, on your acceptance of the Athletic Wall of Distinction Award for individual fencing for Athlete of the Year. Congratulations, I'm so proud of you.
Merci Patricia. I feel both humbled and honored to be inducted today. One does not get here alone, and as I reflect upon my time at RMC, and more specifically on my adventures on the fencing team, I can think of two people who were absolutely key to any success I ever had in the sport. Colonel O, Coach Oliviero, and Coach Patty House. I started my journey as a fencer at RMC by chance, really. I didn't know anything about the sport, but that night on the inner field in 2001, I thought, why not? As I walked towards a small group that had formed in front of Colonel O. He welcomed me to the team. He channeled my fearlessness and my competitive nature to unleash whatever raw potential he saw in me. I had no idea what I was doing, but I was doing it with all my heart. We were all so young, and Colonel O acted like a father to us. He encouraged us, mentored us, and provided us with a safe environment to experience life. He must have seen some potential in the energetic 17-year-old that I was, because he named me most valuable player in my first year in the sport. I later met the woman who would become my coach, my mentor, and my friend for the next 15 years, Patricia House, all of 5'3", emerald green eyes, and an unrivaled passion for fencing that I have never encountered again. I vividly remember her first speech as our brand new coach during my second year. She meant business. That much was clear. You were either willing to put the effort in, or there was no room for you on her fencing team. When she arrived at RMC, we were second to last in the Ontario University Athletics, or the OUAs. But Patricia had a plan. She was going to make us OUA champions, nothing less. I bought into the program, I drank the Kool-Aid, and I lived by a simple mantra: eat, sleep, fence. I ran to practice straight from my engineering classes, trained until the very last minute, ran to my room, showered, and ran to the cafeteria. I took individual lessons between classes with Patty. I filled my weekends and time off with competitions and training camps, and my journey brought me on a very special morning of my fourth year on a bus. There I was, team captain, leading our women fencers to the OUA finals. It was not going to be easy, but we actually had a shot at winning. We all had our part to play. In fencing, OUA banners are won by accumulating points from individual results and from team matches in a relay format. We got off the bus and scattered all over the gym as the competition started. We could feel that something special was happening. That day, my hard work paid off. I won the gold medal match in individual, and I anchored my team to winning a gold as well in the relay portion. My teammates and I did it. We actually won the OUA banner. Coach Patty once told me, after what I'm sure was a disappointing result, or comments from naysayers who didn't believe we could go from second to last to first place in the league, that success was the best revenge. She was right, and that success felt good. I continued training and competing in fencing for 10 more years, which culminated in an unexpected return to the OUAs during my time in Toronto at the Joint Command and Staff program. I once again anchored my team in the relay to win the gold medal match 45-44, in front of Patty, whose fists were clenched, but whose eyes said, "I knew you could do it again." She always believed in me, she challenged me, and pushed me to become the best person I could. Fencing transformed my experience at RMC. It shaped the officer and the leader that I became, and gave me friendships I will cherish for the rest of my life. With RMC's support and the CAF as a whole, I was fortunate enough to travel around the world to train and compete in the sport I love with the CISM program. I cannot overstate the impact of sport in the life of a young adult, and as an essential component of a fulfilled and healthy military career. I am forever grateful for all that fencing has brought me, and I am thankful to receive this very special honor today. Thank you.
Incroyable! Competing at such a high level, especially as a student athlete, is certainly worth celebrating. Congratulations, Marilyne, on your well-deserved induction. Now, to deliver our keynote speech, we have another impressive athlete from RMC's past, a 2019 AWOD inductee for a record-setting hockey career, Steve Molaski. And on hand to introduce him is one of his former teammates, RMC registrar, Carl Michaud.
Bonjour à tous, je suis Carl Michaud, le secrétaire général ici au collège. I'm proud to introduce Lieutenant Colonel retired Steve Molaski, otherwise known as Toaster or Mo to his friends. So Mo is an excellent hockey player. Just look at his COU record. But keep in mind that he did that playing on a line with good players, but none of them are ex-Major Junior A players. In Germany, Mo took our last place team and won multiple championships. My line mate moved up to Mo's line and went from 12 points to 80 some odd points, third in league scoring. Who knew? Mo's other line mate was second in league scoring. Of course, Mo shattered all the records. But it wasn't just hockey. With Mo, we won consecutive baseball championships together. We had success in track and field. For 2 of the past 3 years, Mo has been the senior men's golf championship champion at the Equinel Golf Course. As an officer, Lieutenant Generals Stu Beer and Marky Haynes both selected Mo to be their military assistant when they went in Afghanistan for a year. Now, Stu Beer I kind of get because they're both gunners, but Marky Haynes was a Van Du. So for him to pick an Anglo artillery officer is a testament to just how fine an officer Steve Molaski is. But despite all that, that's not his most notable quality. It's Mo's heart, right? So Mo has some pretty cool friends. Dougie Gilmore, Mark Crawford, you've probably heard of those guys. But there's also a young officer in Germany that everybody thought was substandard, bit of a loser, that Mo took on and was really close as a friend. And we kept saying, like, really, Mo? Like, really? He said, get to know this guy. So we did, and we found out this guy was a decent human being. He had a good heart. The guy was, he was trying hard. But Mo saw all this before any of us, and for that reason, I'm proud to call Steve Molaski my friend. So for your induction, Mo, congratulations, well deserved. Over to you, brother.
Thank you, Mish, for the heartfelt introduction. Carl Michaud is a lifelong friend of mine, teammate, and brethren of arms. I could think of no one more appropriate to introduce me for this prestigious award and honor. Thanks, Carl. First and foremost, I wish to recognize and congratulate the 2020 RMC Athletic Wall of Distinction inductees for their outstanding athletic contributions during their respective RMC careers. I also wish to thank and recognize the RMC class of 1970 for establishing the Athletic Wall of Distinction, its chairman, Jim Simpson, and the selection committee members for my induction. Je sais qu'il est nécessaire et important de parler dans les deux langues. Pour les francophones, avec votre approbation, je voudrais parler seulement en anglais parce que j'ai seulement 7 ou 10 minutes, et with the allotted time, I would like to quickly link together my family, upbringing, minor sports, entering RMC, post-RMC, and what challenges I faced and you could equally face with the common theme of team sports and how it shaped my life. Family upbringing. Being the 10th of 11 children from a family of 13 brings its own competitive challenges. I had to have a competitive nature in order to survive. Living in a very modest home with only one bathroom and a small kitchen, getting to the bathroom by yourself or getting a seat at the kitchen table were not only personal achievements, I considered them major victories as well. My dad, Ken, was an infanteer in World War II and later became an engineer on the railroad. And when he would come home from work, he would often say, or mostly yell, "Okay, all you kids, get outside and play." This is the same dad who would make not one, but 2 hockey rinks every winter. One for skating and the second for hockey. Funny thing is, I never once saw my dad lace up a pair of skates. But he was meticulous in making the best ice. And what I later learned is that Dad knew that participating in sports has benefits beyond physical activity. It helps develop social bonds, build strong communities, and unites Canadians from coast to coast to coast, and that these attributes are priceless. Playing minor sports. When it came time to compete against kids my own age, I was at a distinct advantage. I had played competitively against neighborhood kids and siblings 5-10 years older than me for most of my life. So scoring records and provincial titles came routinely easy against kids my own age. I was fortunate to have been scouted and drafted by the Cornwall Royals Major Junior A Hockey Organization and went on to win the 1981 Memorial Cup Championship with the likes of the late great Dale Howardchuk, Scott Arneal, and Mark Crawford, while playing on a line with Doug Gilmore. Not a bad bunch of guys. Entering RMC. I was home in Belleville my last year of high school. And over Christmas, I was visited by a buddy attending RMC as a first-year cadet. He had asked me what my future plans were, university, college, whatever. And I told him I wanted to become a cop and I planned to take criminology at University of Carleton. So my buddy, first year Rory Buzz McLeod, just happened to be playing on the RMC varsity hockey team at the time and impressed upon me what RMC had to offer. The next morning, I received a phone call from Dr. Wayne Kirk, Dean of the Canadian Forces Military College, and more importantly, in his words, the coach of the RMC varsity hockey program. Wayne had heard that I was interested in coming to RMC and invited me down on a recruiting tour and watch RMC play Queens in the Carr-Harris hockey game. Later in February, I traveled to RMC, spent the day touring the college facilities, had a few meals, and I watched that game. The outcome was a 17-4 Queens victory. I certainly understood the challenges ahead, and honestly, I wasn't certain if RMC was the right fit for me. So months later, I was suiting up for RMC, and our first game was against University of Toronto, with their head coach, Iron Mike Keenan, behind their bench. After a 16-2 loss, it was time to prepare for Ryerson the next day, resulting in another 9-7 loss. I was thinking, do we need to score 10 goals a game to compete? Really? Our next game was against Queens in their barn. We were tied 2-2 after 2 periods. All the 3rd and 4th years were celebrating, jumping up and down like little kids in our dressing room, happy to be tied after 2 periods. I absolutely lost it and sounded off on my elder teammates. I told them to undress and that us first and second years would play and win the hockey game without them if their attitude didn't change. The mood quickly changed and we went on to win 5-4. I understood why the senior cadet players were celebrating, having watched them lose 17-4 to Queens just months before. So after the game, my teammates couldn't contain themselves anymore and the celebrations erupted. However, what happened next was something I never would have expected. About a minute later, our dressing room door got kicked open and in bust our commandant, Brigadier General Frank Norman, in full uniform, jumping up and down like a little kid. I said to myself, this is where I belong. This is now home. And we were on a different glide path, knowing not only could we compete, but we could win. My best season at RMC was a team record of 5 wins, 5 ties, and 14 losses in 24 games. 10 of our 14 losses were by 1 goal, or a couple empty net or 2 goals. There were 13 teams in the league, just like there were 13 people in my family. Being the 10th of 11 children, it wasn't always a fair or level playing field competing against my older siblings. Similarly, most of the OUA hockey teams consisted all of ex-Major Junior A hockey players. Likewise, when it came time to compete, either against my siblings or whether against the other OUAA teams, they knew they were in for a hell of a game. And more than one occasion, we'd often win. My first RMC game resulted in a 16-2 loss, and my last game against University of Toronto was a 6-5 victory, and my varsity hockey career felt like it had come full circle. What I took away from RMC and the varsity sports program, besides the eternal bondings and lifelong friendships, was that through consistent training, patience, practice, I developed a dogged determination, commitment to work ethic to improve. Simply be better. And how RMC, the best leadership institution in the world, would prepare me for challenges ahead I'd never expected to face. So, post-RMC and challenges. So, upon a week of graduating and marching off the parade square, I found myself in Lahr, Germany as a junior officer at 1st Regiment Royal Canadian Horse Artillery. Within 3 days, I was on a train, deploying on exercises throughout Europe, preparing to face off against the Soviet Union during the Cold War era. I was a boy when I entered RMC and left as an officer with an untested, untried, and unproven leadership skill sets. I discovered that terms such as truth, duty, valor, team cohesion, unit camaraderie, and a shared sense of purpose were not just catchy phrases, rather an essential code to conduct myself and to lead as a young combat arms officer. Those lifelong bonding relationships I experienced at RMC re-emerged amongst my artillery brethren, and again amongst my collective combined arms teammates, and later again amongst combined joint operational and NATO brethren. I would find myself in places such as Bosnia, Kosovo, Afghanistan, Lebanon, Jordan, Kuwait, and Iraq, preventing failed states and assisting countries trying to regain a sense of normalcy, and overcoming warlords, drug lords, black markets, criminal organizations, ethnic cleansing, genocides, and terrorism. Over time, I can attest and reassure you future officers that you too will face challenges and come away tried, tested, and proven. Because you're already doing it. You just might not recognize it in yourself, but it's there. And it starts with your commitment and dedication to excel and rise to the challenges ahead of you. I was driven by sports as a child, and it still keeps me young at heart today. And anytime I get to lace them up, hit it far, chip it close, or throw it deep, I'm all in. Hockey and sports opened a door for me to get into RMC. The institutional culture and camaraderie I experienced at RMC has served me well throughout my career. Having served as a Canadian Armed Forces member for 34 plus years and now as a civilian has been a calling for me, and it all began with RMC. In closing, I wish I had a formula or a blueprint on what it takes to become an outstanding athlete. But the truth is, I don't know. I never thought about individual accolades. I just know that if myself and my teammates didn't show up to play, we'd get embarrassed. RMC changed my life for all the best. As an officer cadet, Pontiac and Mackenzie Squadron, then returning as a squadron commander in Brant Squadron, retiring my number 23 hockey jersey, and now inducted into the class of 2019 Athletic Wall of Distinction. I'm proud alumni, and it pains me to witness that the 2020-2021 varsity athletic and sports programs are canceled due to COVID. I can only imagine and feel how difficult that must be. I wish to congratulate Coach Limmer and the boys for opening up a can of whoop-ass and beating Army in overtime 3-2 last year. What a spectacular game, one you'll never forget, believe me, and as well as making the playoffs. To the other 2019-20 varsity athletes and teams, men's fencing, rugby, volleyball, and soccer, women's fencing, soccer, and volleyball, it is good to see that RMC continues to punch well above its weight category. Special recognition to the men's fencing team winning the silver medal and the men's rugby team for placing 6th in the playoffs. Our women's fencing team placing 4th in the OUAA, just 1 point behind University of Ottawa for the bronze. Your respective individual and team sports prowess will not end here at RMC. Some of you will be reunited playing in future regional and national level Canadian Armed Forces sporting competitions. Thank you, RMC. Thank you, Jim Simpson and the class of 70 for initiating the Athletic Wall of Distinction program. And to all the athletes present, best of luck in your future endeavors, both on and off the sports field. Your time at RMC and playing varsity sports. Give me a beer!
If I listen carefully, I can hear current students and ex-cadets chanting back from all across the country. Thank you, Steve, for the inspirational story of the competitive spirit that every athlete needs to find within themselves to succeed. After being unable to attend your own induction ceremony in 2019, we're glad you could share this moment with us now in 2021. That speech was worth the wait. Now that we've heard from our 3 speakers, this event is just about over. So I'd like to say, on behalf of the AWOD Section Committee and the Department of Athletics, thank you to everyone who has tuned in. We're lucky at RMC to have a history of athletic excellence with numerous individuals and teams worthy of recognition. Again, thank you for watching. I'm Maya Russell, and it's been an honor to host this incredible show.